Hello everybody! Overwatch is back finally. The beta has returned after more than like 2 months of downtime. They have returned with a substantial update to the beta. I'm glad that they did take it down, although I was sad that I wasn't playing it because they added so much to this. Like before, it felt like it was pretty much done, but for the first time ever, it actually feels like it's ready to come out, because like before it was like a game, but you didn't really know the business model of it quite yet. And now that we've gotten this version of the beta, I think it is really clear about how they plan on monetizing this, how they plan on updating it and everything. So the first and most important thing that they've added, and we'll go over it, is the like customization stuff, the player progression, the account progression. It's actually not dissimilar to Heroes of the Storm, or even to some degree Diablo. I know that sounds weird because well, Diablo has, you know, a lot of character customization, but we'll get into that. And for the most part, they've also added one new game mode, which is what you're seeing in the background right now. I'll talk about that in a minute, but it also is accompanied by a few new maps, which are really cool. So this game mode is basically a point in the middle of the map. It doesn't activate at the beginning of the game until after like 20 seconds of being there. It's got a timer, so basically you show up, you can't quite cap it yet, so it's not like you have to rush to get there. You basically want to rush to kill the other team, though, so that way you can cap it. And as long as you have it captured, it will generate points. And this happens all the way through the game, you know, whether or not you have it captured or not. So if the other team does, they'll be generating points. And once you get up to 100%, you win. Well, you win the round. It's a best of 3. It does another round on a different map, and then it does a third round on a different map if you guys have, you know, won the first round and then they won the second round, or they won the first round and then you guys won the second round. So best of 3 basically. But a lot of people probably won't really see that third round from my experience. There's been some really close games, but for the most part you will get to 2 games and one team will have won by then, usually. Now this is interesting because it focuses the combat a bit more, and you don't really get as many lone wolves happening in my experience with this. And now I've played probably like 10 games on this game type now, and with it comes some really extreme like moments right at the end of the game, because the countdown will stop at 99% if it is in overtime. So you can, at this point in the beta, get like a tracer to just sprint around and just constantly be going in and then back out of it, just to keep the overtime going. And we probably had an additional 10 minutes on the end of a game by a really good tracer, just like, you know, micromanaging that. And it was really cool because it was really intense. Like, you might be like, oh, it extends the length of the game, and oh, that's really annoying that the tracer's doing that. I'm sure that they can find ways to prevent that, like maybe there's a diminishing return on the same person who hasn't died yet, you know, keep going back and forth within it. But for the most part, I thought it made the game more fun because we had like 10 minutes of super, super intense combat right after like a good 3 to 4 minutes of a really intense game already. So it was a lot of fun. I like the game mode, and I don't know if I would say that I like it more than the others, but I do enjoy it to the point where I want to say that. I think I need more games in it before I can really make that call. But at this point, I do kind of always hope for this game mode to pop up, as opposed to the other ones. Now, as far as like changes to the game that have been made, they've gone through a lot of really cool balance stuff. For example, Bastion, before, he's the guy who could turn into a turret. He no longer has a shield, but what they did is they made it so he can turn all the way around, so he can like look 360 degrees. He's not limited to looking one direction, basically. This is interesting because he has armor instead of the shield, but it's a lot easier to kill him. It's a lot easier to take him out, and in the same vein, it's easier for the Bastion in a weird way, because the Bastion isn't having to worry about just like one really specific cone of fire that he has. He could turn around and kill things behind him. So I think it opens up a lot more gameplay possibilities with Bastion, and it just makes him more fun, in my opinion. I think it was a good change. We'll see whether or not it sticks. Any of these changes, by the way, are going to probably change by the time the game actually comes out. We still have a few months for that. But what you'll notice is, you know, people like Torbjorn at the moment in the beta, they're really strong because they buffed his turret damage. They've changed how Soldier works, so basically it's kind of the same way, but he just does more damage at like medium to close range and a lot less damage at long range, and he has recoil on his gun now. He didn't used to. So there's just like a ton of really interesting changes like that that I'm really enjoying. Support feels a little bit more fun to play than it did before. I've actually played a lot of support since the beta came back up, and the fact that they added the character progression has actually made me want to just like constantly be playing, because just like it did in Heroes of the Storm, I just want to constantly be, you know, getting the cool stuff in my account. So let's actually take a look at that. The first thing is that you get experience at the end of every game, just like you do in Heroes of the Storm. And that experience is increased by how many medals you have. Like if you had a gold medal, or if you had like silver medals, you get like, you know, progressively more experience as you get to the gold medals. But then, you know, game length has a part to play in how much experience you get. And when you level up, because your account is, and this is what I was saying with kind of the Diablo-esque stuff, is there's apparently no level cap on it. So you can just keep leveling your account up. You're not leveling up individual characters, unlike Heroes of the Storm, because Heroes of the Storm has the account level that caps out, and it has the hero level that also has a fairly high cap, but it's hard to obtain. Well, in Overwatch, it's just your account levels up, because they know that you'll be switching characters often, so they don't want to force people into just playing one character to try to level them up, which I think is a really smart move. And the fact that you only have the account level stuff, I think is really cool, because you are able to get way cooler rewards for it, and I'll show you them in a moment. But for the most part, you will have to play through an entire game and get to the end to get your experience. Every time you level up, every time your account levels up, remember this is like an infinite loop at the moment, you get a reward box. And in this loot box has a ton of items. And when you open the box, you will notice that all of the items are color coordinated. So you, just like in the other Blizzard games, you have whites, greens, blues, purples, and legendaries. And then there's like all sorts of different items that you'll get. So you get 4 out of the box, and you can also get coins, which are used to purchase some of the stuff within the character like select thing. This is definitely going to be the way that they monetize the game, because you can, you know, aside from just the straight up purchasing of it, you can buy more of these boxes that just contain random items. This is very similar to how Counter-Strike works, if you're familiar with that. So the first things are your player icons, which show up on your friends lists. So if a friend is looking at your account when you're, or looking at you when they open up their friends list, they'll see your player icon. So whichever one that you're able to get is, you know, you can use whichever one, and there's pretty cool ones for the most part. They go cross games here. There's stuff from Hearthstone. There's stuff from all of the Warcraft stuff, and then some of the Starcraft stuff. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what they do in the future with some cross-promotional things, like maybe playing a Diablo season and then, getting rewards from that. It might be pretty cool. Then you have the hero gallery, which has all of the other stuff. So for every other character, you get skins, emotes, victory emotes, which, by the way, the emotes are pretty well done. They're used in the game. You hold down the C button and you can like emote to other people. Then you have voice lines, which are like custom voice acted things. It's just like, call outs basically. Then sprays, which again, if you've played Counter-Strike or you're familiar with Counter-Strike, it's probably very familiar for you. You just place down like a spray paint thing on the ground or wherever, like on walls and whatever. Some of them are really cool. there's a lot of them that are very like character specific and you can only use for certain characters. And then finally, the coolest thing that they've added are the highlight videos, which are just like the thing that plays right before you get play of the game. So if you got play of the game, these highlight videos will be whatever is played. So you can unlock several of them, and they're really well done. There's some really, really cool ones, and it makes me want to unlock them for each character, even though I know that they'll probably reset the beta before the game comes out, and all of this is for nothing. But it's still fun to do right now. I can kind of figure out, you know, which ones I like the most, and I'm sure they'll be adding more. And maybe some of this will change as the beta goes on, and maybe more stuff will be added. Either way, you'll be getting a lot of this because they're adding all of this stuff for each character. Then they'll probably be adding more, so that way you keep playing, and they can really easily do a lot of like sprays without much effort. They could probably pretty easily do emotes. The voice acting stuff would probably take a little bit longer because you got to get the voice actors in to record those lines. And the highlight intros are just like animations. There's not necessarily a lot of art that goes into that. There are a few that have, you know, specific art things, but for the most part, it looks fairly simple as far as animation goes. And then really, as long as the artists are, you know, keeping busy doing skins, you're just like I said, going to be constantly getting this. Speaking of the skins, by the way, they have like these recolors of the character, which is pretty typical for like a game just starting out with, you know, customization stuff like this. But then they also have some really cool custom ones that don't just reskin the character, but completely retexture it and morph like all of the different details on it and add physics to certain pieces. It's just really well done. There's some exquisite skins, and once again, it makes me want to get them all. Overall, though, this has that Diablo-esque feel because in Diablo, not only do you have like the infinite Paragon level things, but you also don't pay for content, right? You buy the game up front and then you just get a ton of content. And I've probably put 800 hours into Diablo since Reaper of Souls came out, and I haven't paid for any of that time. So I have a feeling that they're going to do the same thing here, where you buy the game up front, and then they just give you a ton of content as you go, whether it be stuff like this or additional characters, additional maps, additional game modes, because that'll keep people playing, which will get more people buying the game, which will get more interest in it. And then you can easily, if you really wanted to, buy crates. Otherwise, you could just keep leveling up your account. So it's interesting. It's a cool business model because I've seen it work with Diablo, and I know that it does work, despite that there is a microtransaction within, or potential microtransaction, I should say, because it still is beta, in the form of getting the crates. But I don't really see that as an issue because you're not buying characters, you're just buying cosmetics for each character. Oh, by the way, and when you get duplicates, which you can get duplicates of stuff, it gives you the coins, and the coins are used to buy the stuff that you want. So you may fish for a while to try to get a very specific skin, but at the end of the day, you're going to be able to get it anyways because you'll accumulate enough coins to do so. So it's really cool. Overall, the beta is just, I feel like it's ready to come out. Like, they should just release the game, but at this point, I think that they still want to do a lot of other balancing things and just making the game super good. And the fact that it's coming out on consoles and everything, it's just, I think they feel a lot of pressure that this game, you know, needs to be good. But I think they also can have a sigh of relief here because this beta is just like honestly, I don't want to make this call already, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be Game of the Year for me. I wanted it to be Game of the Year last year, but it was still in beta. The fact that the game is releasing this year just means that chances are it's going to be my Game of the Year unless something incredible comes out this year, which end of 2016 is Mass Effect, you know, Andromeda, maybe, but let's be honest, Overwatch is probably going to take that spot. With all of that being said, I'm going to go back to playing Overwatch, and we shall see you guys next time.